Hey guys, it's Untitled Reads, and as you can see by the video title, today I'll be talking about Amberlynn Reid's short-lived book club. Spoiler alert, it's over, but does that really surprise anyone given her track record? Amberlynn has been throwing out this book club idea for a little while now, but she wasn't sure how to keep the haters out, which is valid. Given Amberlynn's audience, I don't think there really is a way for her to keep the negativity out because she's fostered it for so long, but the way she chose to go about this book club left a lot to be desired. I started a read-along on Instagram. The book chosen was The Cellar by Natasha Preston. I decided there would be a larger and easier way of communication through community posts here on YouTube, as I know a lot of you wanted to join the read-along, but you don't have an Instagram. Totally understand. You can join in whenever you want, but today is when we all begin the book. The goal is 1 chapter a day. I'll post a question/topic daily about the chapters we read previously. The chapters are short, so no worries about it taking up too much time. So today, read chapter 1 and I'll be back tomorrow. As for now, my question is, what is your favorite kind of book to read? Is this book in particular out of your comfort zone? So to have a book club, one must first have a book. Amberlynn, as she said, put a poll on Instagram. The book chosen was The Cellar. I don't have an Instagram account, so unfortunately I don't know what the other book options were or how Amberlynn chose them. But having read The Cellar myself for this video, I think Amberlynn was doomed from the start because this book is a total dumpster fire that originated from Wattpad of all places, and I have a hard time believing that any of the other book options in that poll could possibly be worse than this one, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Her first discussion question here is, what is your favorite kind of book to read, with a follow-up of, is this book in particular out of your comfort zone? If that second question confuses you, it's because one thing Amber has been criticized heavily about this book club in particular is her choice of The Cellar, because it does have some darker content, and she's really not very good about giving specific content warnings regarding that. Honestly, the book is so surface level and poorly written that none of these themes are really all that hard-hitting or traumatizing, but I do want to give a quick content warning if you are sensitive to any of these issues. So kidnapping, rape, physical abuse, they are all mentioned in some way, but truly it's not that deep. As for Amberlynn's questions, my favorite genre to read is thriller, and no, this book isn't out of my comfort zone. Many of the books I read have dark subject matter, but I don't tend to read young adult. I want to make a quick comment here that I don't think it's bad that Amber chooses to read young adult books. Reading and other hobbies are meant to be enjoyable, so you should read whatever you enjoy. She doesn't need to push herself by reading The Odyssey or some other literary masterpiece to prove she's a real reader. I do, however, think Amberlynn would benefit from reading adult books if she is looking for more intense content, because that will be handled more appropriately in a book that is written for an adult versus a younger teen audience. Rant aside, let me give you a quick plot synopsis of The Cellar so the following community tab post will make sense. Spoiler alerts for the rest of the video, except I think I'm going to do a follow-up video where I more in-depth break down the book The Cellar because I have a lot to say about it, but we don't have time for that in this video. The book is about 16-year-old Summer, who is kidnapped by a man who calls himself Clover and is locked in a cellar with 3 other women. The man renames the women after flowers and keeps them around as his perfect family. I'll dig into more details later, but that's really all you need to know for now. Read along The Cellar by Natasha Preston, Chapter 1, Summer. Spoiler alert! Wow, I did not want to stop reading, but I did for the sake of the read-along. So far, I'm gripped. I'm intrigued by the other 3 women down in the cellar. My question is, who do you think Lily is? Thoughts? I was also gripped by the first chapter, but in a very different way to Amberlynn. My garbage radar immediately went off the charts, and I kept reading to see how bad it would get. As for Amberlynn's question, she's referring to how the kidnapper referred to Summer as Lily when he snatched her, which is not at all confusing, so you're kind of left to believe that maybe he's mistaking Summer for someone else and there's this person named Lily, but as I just said a second ago, this guy kidnaps girls and renames them after flowers, so there is no actual person named Lily. There never was a person named Lily. It's just because it's a flower name. For reasons, I don't know. It's sort of arbitrary about like which flowers he picks. There's also Violet, Poppy, and Rose that he kidnaps, so this information is revealed very quickly. Needless to say, there is no Lily. Chapter 2, Summer. Regardless of who the target audience is age-wise, this story is clearly messed up. It's full of abuse. I don't get triggered easily, so I think I'll be okay. So far, I find the story to be compelling. What I have noticed is that I don't think Natasha, the author, has really been able to get into the mind of someone who has actually been kidnapped. I see what she is trying to do in explaining the fear of the situation, but it's not hard-hitting quite yet for me. But it is still entertaining. Today's discussion is Booktubers, which there is a large community here on YouTube that I love. The community is full of loving, accepting people who read all kinds of books, including what seems to be hated on in my community, young adult. So many young adult novels hit on such important topics that add for a great read. My favorite booktuber, who I believe is a favorite of many, is Books and Lala. She reads all genres of books for the most part. Her reading style greatly reflects mine, and I think that's why I took such a liking to her rather quickly. I've been watching her for years now. She also comes up with extremely creative book video ideas that I don't see many people doing. Who are your favorite booktubers? And of course, what did you think of Chapter 2? Were you right about who you thought Lily was? Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. I feel like Amber is almost bragging about being able to read such dark and edgy books without being triggered, but she's not really pushing the limits here with this Wattpad nonsense. Regardless, she finds the story compelling, despite immediately criticizing the author for not capturing the true fear of being kidnapped. Don't worry though, Amberlynn still finds it entertaining, which is something she's gotten backlash for saying before, that dark topics like this are entertaining to her, so you'd think she would have learned her lesson, but I guess not. I don't have much to add to her little booktuber rant. As I said before, I don't personally have a problem with Amber reading young adult books. I don't have a favorite booktuber, but I agree with Amberlynn Reid that Books and Lala is a great channel to check out. Back to the seller, I'm not really sure if Amber actually understands who Lily is. As I just explained, there really is not Lily. There is no person named Lily. He's just naming them after flowers. So I don't know if this information had been revealed at the point of Chapter 2, but I think it becomes obvious pretty fast that there is not a literal person named Lily. Chapter 3, Summer. I'm finding it so hard to get attached to these characters. Everything seems so surface level. Summer is scared, yes, but tell us more. We know you're scared, but go deeper, please. I'm also so confused by the fact that it is 4 against 1. He only has a knife. Are there other weapons? It seems like the other 3 girls down here have accepted their fate. Maybe Stockholm Syndrome? Because wouldn't it be possible to escape since there is 4 of them? Like, why is no one trying? All the talk about rape is worrisome, almost like they're leading up to something clearly happening to Summer. I hope the author just wanted us to be on our toes and worry instead of the act actually happening. If you were in this sort of situation, what would you do? Do you think Natasha Preston is portraying the act of being kidnapped well? Why or why not? I think Amberlynn is right that the book is extremely surface level and the characters are hard to get attached to. However, remember that she also just said she found the book to be compelling. I think she was influenced by other commenters pointing out how bad the book is, which is fine, because this is supposed to be a discussion and people are allowed to change their opinions and change their mind, but I don't think Amberlynn has any real skill set herself when it comes to analyzing books. I think she genuinely would have enjoyed this book and not thought about it critically in any way without any of the comments pointing these things out. I was also confused about the whole 4 against 1 aspect because the women could easily be able to overpower the kidnapper if they came up with a solid plan. But if they did that, then the book would be over, so of course that never happens. As I've alluded to, the book isn't exactly well written, so don't put too much logic into what the characters decide to do. To say the talk about rape is worrisome is a bit of an understatement, but I'll let that slide for now. Our girl isn't known for handling these types of situations with much nuance, so I'll just leave it at that.
Rain and petals these drop.
As for Amberlynn's questions, I don't know what I would do in this situation, as I've never been kidnapped or anything close to it. I've always told myself I'd rather die in the street than be taken to a secondary location, but who knows what I'd actually do if it happened. Her next question is very oddly worded. Do you think Natasha Preston is portraying the act of being kidnapped well? The actual kidnapping scene was written very poorly, if that's what Amberlynn is asking. I think what she means to ask is the book executed well, which it's definitely not. Chapter 4, Lewis. We got a chapter from a different character narrated, which I love in this situation. Some books carry a load of boredom when they have more than one narrated character because some perspectives I just do not think is important, but I feel like in this case, I'm going to be entertained by Lewis trying to find his girlfriend. I think the author is doing a good job explaining Lewis's fear compared to Summer's. We have had 3 chapters from Summer's perspective and only 1 from her boyfriend's, but somehow I am more connected with him than I am with Summer currently. I have a sneaking suspicion that it will be Lewis who finds Summer. That's only if the story has a positive ending. What do you think? I could not disagree more with whatever this take is. Lewis's chapters are extremely boring and unnecessary. They mainly consist of him worrying about Summer and actively interfering with the police investigation into finding her. He just makes the dumbest decisions constantly, and he is the worst to read from. Again, Amberlynn's poor analysis skills are in full force. Some books carry a load of boredom when they have more than one narrated character, blah, 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 blah. It's such an odd way to say that she doesn't always like multiple POV narratives because those narratives don't always need to be there. She phrases things so strangely to look more intelligent, and it really has the opposite effect here. She is right, though, that Lewis is the one who finds Summer, because of course that's what happens, but it's incredibly stupid and out of left field as to how he does it, but I'll get into that in my next video when I more thoroughly break down this book. Chapter 5, Summer. I purposely chose to call this a read-along. This isn't a book club, and that's why you don't see characteristics of one. I just needed to make that clear because I have people telling me that this is a lame book club, etc. That was never my intention when I began this. I do want to make a book club eventually, but that might just be something I do with the people in my life who enjoy reading. Also, I am sorry, but I will not be reading any more comments under this. I will continue to share my thoughts, add a different perspective to this story, and ask questions so you guys can continue to engage if you want to. If you would rather engage silently without leaving any comments or even reading them, I will totally understand. Read-alongs don't have to be communicative. Why am I choosing to no longer read the comments? I decided I was going to engage more with y'all and bypass the hate because that is what you guys wanted from me, but sadly, people are posting spoilers of what happens at the end of the book before we have even reached anywhere near the end. I completely got the story ruined for me because someone posted the ending of it. I quickly deleted in case anyone else saw that comment. I don't want the book to be ruined for any of us. This wasn't meant to be infested with hate, spoilers that have not been talked about, people trying to bash others' intelligence, etc. But it seems like there truly is a large portion of my audience who is obsessed with ruining things for me, and their goal is to make me feel like shit, but I can prevent that from happening by not reading the comments anymore. To those who wanted me to engage, I am sorry, but I need to protect my mental health and I need to protect the enjoyment of reading during these read-alongs. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I will continue to do these posts daily till we have reached the end of this book. As for future read-alongs, I am not so sure. So regarding the book, I find that Summer is pretty much proving why the other girls seem to be so casual and unafraid. Summer is acting the same way. Everything seems to be running so smoothly. Even her emotions are well put together, but still only surface level, when I would expect someone in this position to be a bit more disheveled and not thinking with a clear head. I do like that she is finally starting to think of ways to escape, though. Poisoning him actually sounds like a good idea. Now let's find a way to execute it. He is an accountant for a law firm? Why is he kidnapping, killing, and raping young women? Is he lying about his job? I want to know why. Tell us more, Clover. Ask more questions, Summer. I love that there was a flashback from when Lewis and Summer shared their first kiss. Teenage love, gotta love it. Overall, after reading 55 pages, I would have hoped to be more connected to these characters, and I'm just not, which makes me sad because connecting to characters and growing to love them or hate them and empathize with them is one of the things I love about reading. Are you having a hard time connecting to these characters? Do you think Clover is lying about what he does for a living?
Excuse me, what?
Oh dear lord, it did not take long for this to go off the rails, did it? As it turns out, people expected Amberlynn to actually respond to the comments and engage in this discussion rather than just asking a random question and then dipping out. I think Amberlynn should have made this book club into a video series instead. She can give her opinion on the chapter, talk about it more in depth, maybe ask a few questions to the audience, and then let Wifey sort through the comments to give her some material to talk about in the next video. That way there is still some sort of back and forth discussion, but Amberlynn doesn't have to interact directly with her audience if she's bothered by reading the hate comments. Which I have to say, there actually aren't a ton of. Most people were genuinely discussing the book, but the book happens to be bad. The quality of the book isn't really Amberlynn's fault because she wasn't the one who wrote it, but she could have done more research into what she chose to read for this book club. Excuse me, read along. Again, I don't really understand how the two are different, and it's confusing because Amberlynn did used to use those terms interchangeably, but there were many other ways that Amberlynn could have gone about this. As for her discussion of the book, I don't know why she's so surprised that Clover, the kidnapper, is an accountant for a law firm. He'd need to have a pretty high-paying job for how big and secluded his house is and how well-equipped the cellar is. It's not some crappy basement, it's basically a second apartment for the women to live in. His motives for kidnapping are incredibly obvious and explained in great detail, so I'm not sure what Amber is confused about. Maybe they just hadn't revealed it at this point in the book, I can't remember, but it is so obvious why he is doing these things. The characters have no personality and all act exactly the same as each other, so that's why they're hard to connect with. There are some chapters from Clover's POV, and he speaks the exact same way as Summer, who is a 16-year-old girl, so it gets really odd and very confusing. But those are all topics for my next video where I talk about the book more in depth. I'm sorry, but I'm done with the read-along. If I find another avenue to do it on, I will let you know, but I am so beyond tired of things getting tainted for me. This was never a book club. Go back and look at the first post I even created about it. I called it a read-along, period. But so many people are having issues with how I am doing this, even though there are 0 rules for a read-along. To be honest, most read-alongs aren't even as conversation-based as much as I have been. A few shared opinions, sure, but not daily posts about each chapter. But somehow, it still wasn't good enough, or I was doing something wrong, or trying to prove how smart I am, or I was being lazy with blah 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 blah. Sorry. Or I was being lazy with how I was doing the read-along, etc. Like, what? This is simply something fun I thought we could do for people who are actually interested, but somehow people always seem to ruin everything for me no matter what it is. If you do not understand why I'm stopping this, be grateful that you have never had people treat you this way or make you feel the way that I do now, to the point of not even being able to hold a damn read-along anymore because there is so much negative energy surrounding it. I'm choosing my mental health first, the very thing that people always tell me to choose above all. I'll be continuing to read the book, probably finish it tonight, honestly. If you are interested in talking to me about it privately, send me a DM on Instagram. Show's over, folks. If any of you thought she'd see this to completion, bless your heart. Her attitude is appalling as usual, with her giving herself ass pats for her mediocre discussion questions and completely bland takes on this book.
Why do you not interact with your own fans at your own book discussion? They're talking about, because I'm doing a read along, if you guys don't know, through my community posts. This person's wondering why I don't reply to your comments. I tried to make it to where I was part of the discussion. You know, every day I post, we do 1 chapter a day. So every day I post like my thoughts, my feelings. I make sure to end the post with some questions so there's more engagement, and I figured that is my way of engaging. I'm not gonna lie. The first day I did read comments and there were a lot of bad ones, which honestly shocked me because I was like, this is about a book. Like, it's hard for me to sit there and see so many negative comments about something that I'm thoroughly enjoying doing. So it's easier for me to block that out.
Amberlynn did originally call this a book club at some point, so I can see why people are confused by the change to a read-along and what that even means. Given the fact that Amber is currently bedbound due to her ankle injury, she has all the time in the world to respond to comments and interact with her audience about the book. If she doesn't want to do that, then she can just keep posting the read-along content like before and simply disregard the comments like she was already doing, like she just discussed in her previous post. I don't see why she had to fully quit. She could just stop reading the comments. As long as she maintains her victim mentality and feeds into the hate, that's all she's going to keep getting. She has got to stop putting attention towards the negativity and just only respond to the positivity, and then people are just going to stop posting negativity because they're not getting any attention. The first rule of the internet is don't feed the trolls. I don't understand how she's gotten to this point and not realized that. But that's really all I have to say about this book club situation type deal. If you want to hear more about The Cellar and its awful plot and terrible writing style, stay tuned for my follow-up video where I give a more in-depth breakdown of exactly how that reading experience was. So I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys!